Have you ever felt like society is this giant, super complicated machine, and you somehow missed the day they handed out the instruction manual? Well, you are definitely not alone. So in this explainer, we're going to try to piece together that manual. We're going to look at what society is, how it actually works, and what happens when it gets sick.
So to really get our heads around this whole thing, we're going to use one central, pretty powerful idea. I want you to forget the machine metaphor for a second. Instead, what if we imagined a society not as something that was built, but as something that was born? What if it was a living, breathing organism?
Okay, so how was this organism born? Well, the philosopher Thomas Hobbes had a theory. He argued that before society, in what he called a state of nature, life was just chaos. His famous description was that it was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Yikes. So to escape all that, humans made a deal, a social contract. They basically agreed to give up some of their individual freedoms to a central authority, and in return, they got protection and order. And just like that, with that single agreement, the social organism was born.
And listen, this isn't just some quirky metaphor we're playing with. The sociologist Herbert Spencer built his entire theory around this very idea. He argued that society, just like an animal or a plant, really is a living system. It's not static, it grows, it evolves, and it absolutely relies on all these different interconnected parts working together just to survive. So, if society is an organism, let's do it. Let's put on our lab coats and dissect this thing. What are its vital organs? What's its genetic code?
The very first things we'd see are what sociologists call social institutions. I want you to think of these as the vital organs. They're the big, permanent, organized systems that have evolved over time to take care of the organism's most basic needs. Keeping it fed, organized, and healthy.
Let's break down some of these organs, right? The government, that's the brain, making all the big decisions and sending signals to the nervous system. The economy, well, that's the circulatory system, pumping vital resources like money and goods to every single part of the body. The family unit is the basic cell, the absolute, fundamental building block of it all. And education? That works kind of like a reproductive system, making sure the organism survives by passing its knowledge and skills down to the next generation. So if institutions are the organs, then culture. Culture is the DNA. It's the social programming, the genetic code that gets passed down through generations. It's this whole collection of shared values, beliefs, and behaviors that tells all the cells, and that's us, how to function and what to become.
Now, what's really crucial here is that this DNA isn't biological. Not at all. It's entirely man-made. We learn it, we don't inherit it through our genes. It's passed from parent to child, from teacher to student. It's what shapes our personalities, and it acts like a kind of social glue, holding the entire organism together.
But, just like any living thing, a society can get sick. It can suffer from chronic diseases, serious injuries, and some really, really awkward growing pains. So what happens when the social body isn't healthy?
Think about major social problems. Things like deep-seated inequality or really rigid social classes. These aren't just abstract issues. In our model, they are literally diseases. They're systemic illnesses that put a ton of stress on the entire body, causing inflammation, instability, and basically preventing the organism from functioning at its best.
And what about those growing pains? Think about a teenager whose feet suddenly grow way faster than the rest of their body. It's awkward, it's clumsy, and it creates this real imbalance. Well, a very similar thing happens in society.
See, one part of our social body, our material culture, and that's basically our technology, all the physical stuff we create, like smartphones, AI, you name it, is growing at a spectacular, almost unbelievable rate. It's like one limb is just shooting forward with superhuman speed.
But at the same time, the rest of the body, our non-material culture, which includes our laws, our values, our family structures, our ethics, is evolving much, much more slowly. It's moving at a walking pace while technology is just sprinting ahead.
This gap, this imbalance, has a name: cultural lag. It's that super awkward period between when some new technology is invented and when our society finally figures out how to adapt its rules and values to deal with it. I mean, get this. It took a full 50 years after the typewriter was invented for office culture to really adapt. Now just imagine the cultural lag we're facing today with things like AI and genetic engineering. It's massive.
But despite all these illnesses and growing pains, the social organism is remarkably resilient. It is constantly evolving, constantly adapting, and always finding new ways to grow and survive.
Two of the absolute biggest evolutionary leaps in modern history were industrialization and urbanization. First, we shifted from an economy totally based on farming to one based on factories. And that in turn sparked this massive migration as millions of people moved from the countryside into growing cities to find work. And these weren't just small changes, they were seismic shifts that completely reshaped the entire organism.
And the effects? They were profound. The basic cell of society, the family, was completely reconfigured. Those large, extended families broke apart into smaller, nuclear ones. As more and more people, including women, started working outside the home, our most fundamental relationships changed forever. The old authority of traditional family structures was challenged. It was a full-body transformation, from the cells on up.
So, all of this brings us to today. Let's apply our social organism metaphor to the here and now. How is the patient? What's the doctor's diagnosis for our global society here in the 21st century?
Well, the prognosis, it's not great. A really big report from the United Nations is sounding a serious alarm. It's diagnosing our world with a destabilizing global social crisis. And the key symptoms? Widespread economic insecurity, rising inequality, and a serious breakdown of social cohesion.
One of the report's co-authors, Patricia Justino, puts it in really stark terms. She warns of a dangerous downward spiral that needs urgent action before the damage becomes irreversible. I mean, when the doctors start talking like that, you know it's serious.
And this isn't just some academic diagnosis. The feeling is out there. It's widespread. A pretty staggering statistic from the report shows that nearly 40% of people around the entire world feel that life is actually worse today than it was half a century ago. That is a powerful symptom of a system under immense strain.
So, to bring it all home, our global social organism is showing clear, undeniable symptoms of a serious illness, and it's being fueled by inequality, distrust, and a cultural lag that just can't keep up. The crucial question for all of us now is, how do we treat it? What's the prescription that ensures this organism evolves and thrives instead of declines? That is the question we all have to answer.